there comes a night when it finally lands. No one's coming. Not the friends who swore loyalty. Not the family who said always. Not the lover who called you home. You wait anyway, out of habit. You listen for footsteps that never arrive. And in that silence, something inside you starts to crack. Not in weakness, in realization. The world doesn't hand out rescue. It hands out tests, each one heavier than the last, until you stop calling them unfair and start calling them training. That's when the real work begins. At first, loneliness feels like punishment. It presses against your ears, thick and suffocating. You try to fill it with music, with people, with distraction, but it waits. It always waits. It wants you still, because stillness is where the truth hides. And the truth is brutal. No one owes you understanding. No one's job is to save you. You either learn to carry yourself or you collapse under your own weight. You remember the betrayals. They replay in your mind like old footage, faces that smiled as they pulled the plug, words that sounded like comfort until they twisted into knives. You used to wonder why them. Now you know. Betrayal is the first teacher. It teaches without mercy. It shows you who's fragile, who's fake, who was only standing near you to steal the warmth. It shows you that some souls are umbrellas. They look useful until the storm begins. So, you stop begging the sky to clear. You start building shelter from the rain. Days turn into drills. You eat alone, train alone, think alone. At first it feels wrong, like exile. Then you realize it's design. Solitude is the forge where softness burns off. The noise dies. The silence sharpens. You begin to see patterns where you gave too much, where you stayed too long, where you mistook comfort for connection. You start cutting. Not people, not things, illusions. Every cut hurts, but every cut frees. The pain doesn't vanish, it changes shape. It stops screaming and starts sculpting. You wake one morning and realize the grief has a rhythm, like a hammer against metal. Each blow hurts, yes, but it's making something. Armor, discipline, spine. That's when the real work begins. People talk about healing like it's soft. It isn't. It's work done in darkness, without witnesses, without applause. You bleed quietly, wipe your own face, and keep moving. Because the only thing worse than being alone is being dependent on those who drop you when they're bored. You start to detach, not from love, but from need. You still care, you just stop craving validation. You stop chasing hands that only reach when they want something. You build your own damn table. You cook your own meal. You sit down and eat like a man who finally knows what hunger is for. The loneliness doesn't end. It evolves. It becomes companion, sparring partner, mirror. Every time you think you're finished, it throws another punch. And every time you block faster, you're learning the rhythm of your own survival. Then one day, the silence doesn't weigh you down anymore. It holds you up. It's still heavy, but it's your weight now, not theirs. That's the difference. You're not being crushed by the world. You're carrying it. You stop wishing people understood your path. They can't. They haven't walked it. They talk about strength like it's a quote. You live it like it's oxygen. They romanticize solitude. You bear its teeth. And that's when it happens. The switch flips. You stop running from the empty room. You start using it. The quiet becomes workshop, gym, temple. Every rep, every page, every scar adds mass to something solid inside you. You realize that loneliness was never punishment. It was invitation. An invitation to become the person you kept waiting for. You look around, no crowd, no applause, and whisper the creed to yourself. Alone, but all right. The words sound strange at first, almost arrogant. Then you repeat them, slower, heavier, until they fit. Each time you say them, they settle deeper, turning into steel. That's when the battlefield begins to quiet, not because the war is over, but because you've stopped fighting yourself. The noise outside can't reach a man who learned to find order in silence. And just when you start to think you've mastered the quiet, the world decides to test what it built. You start to understand that solitude doesn't demand perfection. It demands presence. It asks for your full attention, no distractions, no masks. When you're truly alone, there's nowhere to hide from what you are. And that's the hardest part, seeing yourself without the noise. At first, you resist it. You fill the room with screens, voices, plans, anything that keeps you from hearing your own thoughts. But the silence waits. It always waits, until you give up and sit in it. Then the questions come. Who am I without them? What am I building? What do I believe when no one's watching? Those answers don't shout, they whisper. And if you can bear to listen, they change everything. You start to notice small victories. A morning you don't reach for your phone. A workout done without posting it. A meal cooked only for you. Every quiet act is a declaration. I can sustain myself. You stop chasing energy from outside and start generating it from within. That's how you know independence has started to grow roots. The betrayals that once burned begin to cool. You can hold them now without flinching. They become lessons instead of scars. Each one reminds you that loyalty means nothing without strength. People who couldn't stand the weight of your truth did you a favor by leaving early. They freed space for silence to do its work. Discipline replaces hope. You don't wait for motivation, you build routine. The repetition becomes meditation. You learn that resilience isn't a feeling, it's architecture. Brick by brick, hour by hour, you construct a version of yourself that doesn't collapse when no one claps.
There are days when the loneliness hits again, sharper than before. You don't fight it, you train with it. Let it swing, let it land. Each impact toughens you. Each bruise reminds you that pain is proof of life. You bleed, you rest, you rise. No audience, no applause, just progress. You start talking to yourself differently. No more begging, no more self-pity. Your inner voice becomes command instead of complaint. Get up, keep going, finish it. Those 3 words start to rebuild the spine that betrayal tried to bend. The world still tempts you with noise, promises of company,
of shortcuts, of easy peace. But you've seen what easy buys. Dependency, disappointment, decay. You choose the hard path because it's honest. The silence doesn't lie to you. It never did. Nights are longer, but cleaner. You sleep knowing that every action came from choice, not desperation. That's real freedom. Not the absence of loneliness, but the mastery of it. You're not waiting to be found anymore. You're busy becoming. There's a new rhythm to your solitude now. You wake before the sun, move through the day with quiet precision, end the night with reflection instead of regret. The pattern becomes armor, predictable, reliable, yours. And in that repetition, you discover something wild, peace that doesn't depend on anyone. Sometimes memories still visit. You let them. They sit across from you like old soldiers, silent, tired. You nod to them, thank them for the lessons, and send them back to the dark. No hatred, no longing, just closure. The pain that once defined you has turned into fuel. You channel it into work, into training, into art, into the daily act of not quitting. That's the quiet revolution, turning every wound into movement. The body grows harder, the mind sharper, the soul steadier. Then one morning you catch your reflection and don't recognize the man staring back. He looks older, yes, but carved. Every line a story, every scar a sentence. He doesn't look lonely, he looks prepared. That's when you finally understand what alone but all right means. It isn't comfort. It isn't peace handed to you. It's the moment you stop needing rescue, stop expecting fairness, stop mistaking attention for love. It's standing in the center of the storm and realizing you can breathe just fine. It's walking past the ghosts of everyone who left and not feeling hollow, just lighter. You don't hate the past, you outgrew it. You don't worship solitude, you use it. It's a tool now, a weapon, a sanctuary. You've learned to move through it like a warrior through smoke, quiet, deliberate, unstoppable. And somewhere deep inside that silence, a new heartbeat starts to echo, steady, strong, completely your own. When the noise dies long enough, you start to hear design. Every wound had a pattern, every loss a purpose. It takes time to see it, but one morning you realize the solitude wasn't random, it was surgery. It cut out what couldn't come with you. You remember how badly you wanted to be saved. Now you thank the silence for denying you. Because if anyone had carried you out of that pit, you would have stayed small. They'd have taken credit for a recovery that wasn't theirs. Instead, you climbed alone, hand over hand, bleeding on the rocks until the mountain learned your name. That climb rewired you. The hunger that used to chase comfort now chases clarity. You stop asking why me and start asking what now. That single change divides who you were from who you are. The creed was born there, alone, but all right. Not a slogan, not a defense mechanism, a code. It means you're done begging the world to be gentle. It means you can stand in any storm without waiting for umbrellas. It means you've accepted the contract that strength signs in blood. Everything you want costs isolation first. You move different under that creed. No flinch, no rush, no need to announce. You build in silence because silence protects progress. You train while they sleep. You grind while they gossip. You stack proof while they scroll for validation. When you finally surface, they'll call it sudden. You'll know it was calculated. You learn to read people by pattern. The ones who mocked your solitude now orbit it, drawn by the gravity of peace. They mistake calm for invitation. It isn't. It's warning. A man who survived abandonment has no interest in temporary company. He can enjoy presence without promise, conversation without attachment. That's what scares them. They can't control someone who doesn't need them. You start to see dependency for what it was, debt disguised as love. Every favor, every compromise, every moment you bent too far was a loan you kept paying with pieces of yourself. You closed that account. No refunds, no receipts, no remorse. Pain still visits, but it doesn't linger. You let it in like weather, acknowledged, not worshipped. It reminds you you're alive, that your edges are still sharp. Then you send it on its way. That's emotional discipline, to feel everything and feed nothing destructive. They'll call you distant. They'll say you've changed. They're right. Change is what survival looks like when it stops apologizing. You're not cold, you're contained. Your energy used to spill everywhere, flooding the ungrateful. Now it flows in one direction, forward. The creed doesn't promise ease, it promises endurance. You still fall, you just fall better. You still break, you rebuild faster. Every setback becomes data, every failure, blueprint. You stop taking things personally because nothing personal can stop momentum. You find a strange joy in the grind. There's beauty in repetition when it's done with purpose. You wake, move, breathe, repeat. Others call it monotony. You call it mastery. Because mastery is born from boredom embraced, from hours unshared, from work unseen. Silence becomes your sparring partner again, but this time you win. It used to corner you, now it coaches you. Every moment alone sharpens something: focus, composure, patience. You learn that calm is a weapon. People panic when you don't react. They mistake restraint for weakness right before it crushes them. Your worth is no longer up for debate. You stopped being accessible the moment you became accountable. You owe explanations to no one but yourself. The ones who left can stay gone. Their names don't even sting. They're just old passwords you'll never use again. You keep the creed close, engraved, not spoken. Because real warriors don't chant before battle, they prepare. You walk through days with that stillness that unnerves the untested. They see the scars and think you survived hell. You smile, knowing the truth. Hell survived you.
The years that followed didn't roar. They whispered. Progress stopped needing witnesses. You stopped needing introduction. You lived inside small, perfect rituals: work, breath, motion, and they stitched the rest of you back together. Peace became muscle memory. You noticed how silence changes the world around it. People who once spoke over you began to lower their voices. Rooms that used to swallow your words now wait for them. You don't fill the pauses, you let them work. Pauses tell truths noise can't touch. Solitude no longer feels like exile. It feels like clarity stretched into space. You've learned that being alone and being lonely are two different dialects. Lonely says, "Please look at me." Alone says, "I'm watching myself." You chose the second language, and it rewired your life. The mirror used to accuse you. Now it nods. There's no performance left, only evidence. You look and see discipline where doubt used to live. You see calm where chaos used to feed. That's legacy in its earliest form. The quiet shift that no one applauds, but everyone feels. You don't chase purpose anymore. You practice it. Purpose is in repetition, done with respect. The small things, the folded blanket, the written page, the rep finished after failure, that's where the legend hides. You used to think greatness came with sound. Now you know it comes with accuracy. People return sometimes, not to rebuild, but to measure. They expect the same door, the same warmth. You offer neither. You offer civility, and civility is colder than revenge. It says, "I wish you well, but I'm already gone." They call it indifference, you call it peace. You learned that forgiveness isn't forgetting, it's filing. The file stays, but it no longer burns. You open it when you need reminders of who you were before the silence taught you who you are. Then you close it and continue. There's nothing left to prove. The metrics changed. Stillness greater than speed. Consistency greater than excitement. Peace greater than recognition. You understand that results don't shout, they accumulate. And they accumulate only for those patient enough to stay unseen while building. You walk through crowds now and feel light, not because the world got kinder, but because you stopped carrying its weight. The loneliness that once threatened to crush you became armor shaped perfectly to your frame. Every bruise a signature, every scar a seal. The creed still hums in you, alone but all right. It isn't a boast, it's a reminder that you face the kind of nights that rewrite a man and you walked out intact. That you can lose everything that was borrowed and still keep what was earned. That the loudest strength is the kind that doesn't need to announce it survived. You stopped asking for balance, you built it, one act of discipline at a time. That's the secret no one wants, because it costs too much solitude. But solitude is the tax of self-respect, and you pay it gladly. Sometimes on quiet mornings, you feel the ghosts of those who left, not as ache, as absence properly placed. You wish them understanding, not return. They wouldn't know what to do in the calm you fought for. They'd mistake peace for boredom and try to fix what isn't broken. So you keep the distance sacred. Legacy, you've realized, isn't noise or name, it's residue. It's what lingers in the room after you leave. The steadiness, the example, the refusal to break. One day, someone younger will see it, recognize it, and learn that solitude isn't emptiness, it's preparation. They'll learn that being alone but all right isn't the end of the story, it's the foundation every other story needs. You stand at a window, same world, same sky, completely different gravity. Nothing outside you changed, you did. And that was the only thing that ever needed to.